Hey guys, I'm Gary, and this is your exclusive movie review of my next chapter of cult films. So, I'm going to be reviewing a movie called The Lodge. It came out in 2019. When I got a chance to watch this film, I realized it's not really about a cult film. The element of the cult in this film is inspired by, I think, what was a true story. The movie itself is not a true story in any means. The idea behind it, where this woman comes from a cult family, is derived from truer story. So this film stars Riley Keough, Jaden Martle, Leah McHugh, and Richard Armitage. And surprising, when I first started watching this movie, I had completely forgotten about Alicia Silverstone. I forgot she even existed until her name popped up on the credits, and then I saw her in the first 10 minutes of this film. As soon as I thought about her, I was like rooting for her. Oh, this must be a good movie because she was a good actress back in her day, and then she just fell off to the face of the earth. That might just be because I haven't really followed her career, most likely. Right away, for some actors, it doesn't take a lot of time for you to feel for these characters. A lot of actors, they just dive right into these characters, get to know who they are. For the most part, you understand what they're going through, what they're possibly thinking. There's a scenario in this movie. She's taking her children to see her dad, and her dad wants to talk to her for a few minutes. So they're in the room by themselves, and they're talking or whatever, and he's talking about moving on. They're in the midst of divorce, and she's just, you can really tell it's not what she wanted to do. Her face was stale, but at the same time, you could really sense that she was just all sad inside. And so she leaves the room, and the next scene, she's at home. She sits down at the table. She pulls a gun out of her purse and just offs herself. When you don't expect things like that, my thought as soon as I saw her is like, oh, she's going to play a part throughout the movie, or if not the case, she's going to have her 5 or 10 minutes and be forgotten. Throughout the whole movie, she's not forgotten at all, because her presence, you're instantly thinking that her presence is going to flow right through the movie, whether in back or flashbacks or whatever it might have you. This movie had that sense of bringing somebody back, even though she didn't come back at all. She, right at the 10-minute mark, it was over for her character. Enough about Alicia Silverstone. Essentially, this movie is about these two kids. They go to this lodge for Christmas. They are left there with the dad's new girlfriend, and she's got a bit of a history. As a child, her dad was was the leader of a cult. My first response to this movie, this was a pretty uneasy film to watch. I mean, just tonally, like graphic wise, it wasn't really that graphic. There was quite a few scenes in this film where it's extremely slow. If you love slow burn movies, this is the film for you. I mean, it's not very long. It doesn't feel like a very long movie as well. But there are plenty of shots. The scene pans in very slowly, almost to the point where you don't even notice it. But it is there because like the furniture and walls being cut off slowly. So you can see it pan slowly in, and then you can see it pan slowly out in some other scenes, right? And they got that really eerie kind of straight violin music in the background. Not very loud, but it is. It's there. That kind of reminded me of the movie Hereditary. Hereditary, I found, was a very, very disturbing film. Very eerie. Not very scary, but very eerie. Very chilling and suspenseful and all that. But this film had those quirks, those tones of Hereditary. It's very uneasy. It's very uncomfortable and awkward to watch these things. And as far as my expectations for this film, I didn't expect a goddamn thing. When I first turned the movie on, I didn't expect Alicia Silverstone to be in the movie. I didn't really do a lot of research on it. I find like that's the best thing to do. If you don't know much about a movie, you get the gist of, what it's about and the synopsis, and you just turn it on and watch it, and you're just like, holy shit, I did not expect this. That I really enjoyed this film. It's definitely a movie I would recommend to watch once. Like Hereditary, it's a movie you definitely talk about in terms of not necessarily what happens physically in the film, but it's a movie that you'll definitely talk about, like the themes about. Like, the movie is essentially about these two kids that don't want nothing to do with this stepmom, or not, sorry, not this girlfriend, dad's girlfriend. They heard a little bit about her. They knew that she was part of a cult. They think she's crazy. They won't even try to like her. They, like, as soon as they're finding out they're going on or going to this lodge with her while their dad goes to work for a couple of days, they're just like, no, they want nothing to do with it, but dad forces them to do it anyways. You see them research cults and what she went through online a little bit, right? But you don't think anything's going to happen with that. But throughout the movie, at the lodge, things start to happen. Immediately, you think, oh, Alicia Silverstone's character, Laura, she is now like a spirit or a demon or a ghost or whatever, and she's going to haunt this house, to haunt Grace. Things start to look out like that. Like, pictures are being moved. Like, there's this picture of Mary Magdalene, I guess what her name is, like the portrait of Mary on the wall. Grace looks at this picture at dinner time. She's got the sense that it's just staring back into her soul. So she takes it down and puts it like a desk or something. Later on, it's back up on the wall, right? And things go missing throughout the house. Her medication, I imagine that was her antidepressant pills or the crazy pills. All her clothes are missing, the gifts are missing, everything's missing in the house. The food goes missing. The kids don't know what the hell is going on. And all the while, these things, they're triggering her past. And she starts having nightmares of her father. She starts waking up in random places. She sleepwalks. And you find out later on, there's a scene where she starts to snap. She's gone. Like, she's torturing herself. She puts her knees on fresh coal from the fireplace. And she does that several times, saying this prayer to repent her sins and all this kind of stuff. And these kids are watching this and they're like, oh my God, and they don't know what to think about it. So what triggers her the most is she has this dog that goes missing. The dog goes missing for a day, right? She comes out and she's got her frozen dog, her dead frozen dog in her arms, and she's sitting on the steps of the lodge, right? And that's when it's revealed these kids had a lot more to do with what's been going on in this house. Grace ends up in this trance of, almost being a different person or being possessed by something, because she just kind of loses it. She doesn't go buckwheat crazy or anything, but she's just kind of like walking around like a freaking zombie. After the dog died, they tell her right away that, this was all us. They hid everything. They hid the pills. What really triggers this whole thing with these kids' confession is the dog. The dog dies, and of course, when an animal dies, it's instant. Like, both kids are just like, "Oh my God, we fucked up." They don't give a shit about the human beings, right? But as soon as the dog dies, they're like, "Oh my God, we fucked up," So they confess everything. After the kids confess, her crazies have come out. I honestly think, after everything I've just explained, the movie, I really enjoyed this movie. It's not, like I said, not a cult film per se, but it kind of explores what can trigger somebody who's got a past like that. If you instantly just assume that they're bad people, in this reality of this film, if you trigger those past moments purposely, she's going to come out and be this evil person. And you can tell throughout the entire film, she's really, really trying to win these kids over. She's somewhat quiet and isolated a little bit. She doesn't talk a lot, but she still tries. Like she's open to making them sandwiches and doing things for them, or playing games, and you can tell that she's really trying. But the end of this film too, like I would say the last 20 minutes when Grace, just turns and goes crazy, kind of makes you think, like, don't piss off people that have crazy pasts, or pasts like Grace's. This overall film, I really enjoyed it. It was a good an hour and 40 minutes, and I'd recommend it to you guys. Thanks for watching, and please share. If you agree or disagree, put a comment down below me.